Hello, everybody, and welcome to And Action Filmmaking Podcast. It's episode 54, and this week we're talking all about crew care, some of the simple things a producer can do to keep their crew happy and motivated, because a happy crew is a productive crew. But before we get into all that, Mike, how the hell are you? What's happening? I'm here, as always, with Mikey Messier. Mike, what's new, brother?
Things are good, Tommy. I'm here in Jacksonville, Florida. We've had a very hot summer, but getting through it. And I've had a lot of submissions to Avalonia Festival of Short Films, etc. And we've had a great run of episodes. We had an episode on short film festivals or film festivals. We had our episodes on the strike that was very popular last week. And things are doing well.
Well, we love to hear that, Mike. I think it's always a hot summer if you're involved, no matter
Oh,
where you are,
jeez.
pal. You could be in Antarctica and it would be the hottest summer I've ever seen. It's good to have you here. It's good to be with everybody. We've got some of our faithful folks here on the And Action chat line. What's up, Scott? What's up, Stephen E? We're happy to have y'all here with us. Today's kind of a fun show. We're just going to talk about some really simple but helpful things that I think any producer can use in their arsenal. I shouldn't say arsenal because arsenal is a word associated with weaponry. And today we're talking about care. We're talking about ways to make people feel appreciated and make them feel good about what they're doing in the workplace. But before we get into that, we had a really great episode on the Screen Actors Guild SAG-AFTRA strike, the Writers Guild strike. Believe it or not, that was one of our most viewed episodes in 1 week. So I wanted to thank everybody for taking the time to spend some quality podcast time with us talking about this strike. And hopefully we brought a little bit of clarity to the situation for some people that didn't know as much about what was going on. So if you haven't really heard a whole lot about the SAG strike and you want to know more about it, check that episode out. Also, this episode's episode 54. We have it labeled as 53. We're going to fix that after and jump in. The episodes sometimes just kind of gel together. But here we are, excited and ready to talk about crew care.
Yeah, Tommy, it's a big topic. I mean, a lot of times people, when they think about directing, they think about catering to their lead actors, and that's great too. But a lot of times you got to think about your production assistants, your hair and makeup people, the person that drives a vehicle. Sometimes if you're on a set, and a lot of times on your sets, you have someone who's driving a vehicle for people to get to and fro the actual shooting location from holding. That's an important job too. All these jobs are important. I mean, it's true, Tommy. It takes a village to make a movie. I did see the big Barbie movie on Friday, and Tommy, I'm telling you, there's like maybe 2,000 names in the credits, and that's not unusual for these big movies. And even smaller movies sometimes have a couple of hundred people who've contributed. So it's important to treat everyone with respect. And I think some of the things you've outlined in the notes here are going to be very helpful to people if they plan on producing or directing or being involved in movies.
Now, what you're going to see and hear in this episode, a lot of this stuff seems really obvious. A lot of this stuff is like, no shit.
Right.
Obviously, you should do that. But you'd be surprised how many times I've seen these simple things get messed up. So today we just wanted to kind of just refresh anybody out there who's about to maybe go into production. And guys, this goes for anything that you shoot. This isn't just for a big honkin' feature film. This isn't just for massive projects like the Barbie movie. This can apply to a 1-day shoot that you're doing with your friends. This can apply to a music video shoot. This can apply to a short film. All of the things that we're going to go over today kind of carry out throughout any form of production. And really, there are a lot of just like common sense things that a lot of producers sometimes stumble over. And listen, also, I just want to make it clear, I've been very lucky in my career. I've been on a lot of really great movie sets with really great people and really great production teams that take care of their crew. So this is really not a common thing, but it's something that happens enough where it's worth mentioning because I can see how a lot of these mistakes get made because frankly, I've made a lot of these mistakes. A lot of it comes down to, when you're a producer or a director, you have so much on your mind and you have so much energy focused on telling your story or completing your film on time and on budget that often it's easy to maybe be a little prickly, maybe treat people not quite with the level of respect that maybe they deserve. And again, sometimes these things aren't intentional. We're all human. Everybody has emotions, and sometimes when you're on set and all the I guess you could say responsibility is on your head,
Right.
it's easy to kind of be short with people or be quick with people. So I understand the side of it, and sometimes where it comes, I understand that a lot of these things are cost cutting measures. You know, a lot of times costs get cut, and who gets screwed? Usually the crew. You know, usually the crew is going to be the one who takes that one on the chin. So we're going to break it down. We're going to categorize everything and kind of go blow by blow here, and just give you some tips on when you're about to start up your maybe your directorial debut, maybe your first time producing. Maybe it's not your first time producing. These are all just great things that you can keep in mind and refresh yourself with before you go into production.
Well, Tommy, I think this episode might be especially helpful for people that are maybe making a very low budget movie or a student film. You know, I think a lot of times we probably have more students, from film schools and just general students watching our show than you'd think. And I
Well,
think a lot of them,
not to cut you off, Mike, but also like, again, I'm telling you, I've seen big movies, multi-million dollar movies where these mistakes get made. So you're
yeah,
right. Like I do think that, a person who's just starting out will get the most out of this, but this stuff really does happen on multi-million dollar films. These same mistakes get made.
my point is that I think young people that watch this show, if they can learn better habits before they get fully into their career, then in the future generations might be saved from these atrocities. That's my point. And I think a lot of times I've worked with student filmmakers or young filmmakers, and the things that we think of as common sense, as you said, Tommy, they actually don't, because you got to remember a lot of these kids were raised, not to go down this familiar trope, but they were raised with this, with the phone in their hand, and the interpersonal communication skills maybe aren't quite as developed. And that's, can't really blame them if that's how they were raised. So some of the things we bring to the table today, maybe the younger people especially can apply to their filmmaking.
Absolutely, Mike. But hopefully we can maybe be like Jacob Marley in Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, and maybe there's a producer out there that's well established, and we can be the three spirits that visit him in the night and say, "Hey, quit fucking around with your crew." All right. So yes, let's get right into it, Mike. One of the first things that I would say to concentrate on when trying to take care of your crew, and it sounds so simple. And again, you're going to say like, "Well, obviously," but not as obvious as you think. That is making sure you have the proper food and beverages on set and available at all times. Mike, I'm going to explain to everybody what crafty is. If you don't know what crafty is, it's short for craft services, which on films, craft services is basically the catering, if you will. It's the snack area. It's where you can go at any time. We're not talking lunch, we're not talking a meal. Crafty is usually on smaller productions, it's usually a simple table set up. And on this table, you'll have all the basics that can get a human being through the workday. When I say basics, I mean snacks, I mean water, I mean, various types of beverages. And a lot of people tend to cheap out in the craft department on small productions. You'll go to the crafty table and there'll be like maybe some bottles of water, some generic granola bars, uh, and if you're lucky, maybe you'll get some fruit snacks on the table. And frankly, a lot of times it's just nobody wants to eat generic granola bars. You know what I mean? And it's like
Yeah.
I know you're saving maybe a couple bucks, like literally, like maybe throughout the run of the production, you're saving, I don't know, $100. But, like, going for the lowest possible brand, generic everything across the board and putting it out on the crafty table, to me, it's just a little disrespectful to the crew. It's kinda just like, "Oh, okay, well, I guess we're not worth having the name brand granola bars. We'll get the cheapest possible thing we can get. Again, it's like, I know we have to save money and budgets are important, but sometimes like having a regular Coca-Cola instead of like a Shasta Cola or whatever the fuck bullshit generic stuff. Yeah, again, maybe it's 15-20% more expensive, but these are like the little things that like, when someone's on a movie set hustling, working their ass all day, maybe they just want a regular Coke and maybe they just don't want to deal with some bullshit knockoff cola. So just again, avoid the generic shit. Just give people the stuff that they want.
It just reminds me when I was a kid, Tommy, we had something called Cragmont Cola that was sold at Giant, and Cragmont sounds as bad as it is, or it is as bad as it sounds. And occasionally my mom would buy Cragmont soda, and I'd always have like an anger, like I'd have a real fit about it. And yeah, I mean, sometimes, Tommy, the difference between a Lay's potato chip and a Publix potato chip or a Safeway potato chip may not seem like a big deal, but it is kind of an esteemed thing, and I can see your point. I also want to say, Tommy, that I think as far as you and I go, the worst catering we've ever experienced was the infamous half roll of Ritz crackers, like half eaten, was that's the worst. So there are some things to learn from here.
Yeah, and these are simple, obvious things, but we're in the era of COVID has passed us, but I think that we're always ever affected by that. And people are always a little more present when thinking of germs and things like that. So make sure your food's usually like you want it individually bagged. You want items that are, in a plastic bag, and you don't want it, like Mike said, you don't want to just put like a box of crackers out. Mike, I hate to say it, buddy, but I gotta warn you, your chair's making a ton of noise right now. I don't want you to stand still like frozen, but it's like
Okay.
it's very creaky. Yeah.
I wanted
So
to show you, like, you don't want a thing of peanuts like this where everyone's sticking their fist into the same peanuts, is what you're saying.
yeah, exactly. Avoid bowls of chips or bags of this or spreads of crackers. It's like, you want everyone to have their own little unit package. And that's not just for germs. Remember, this is crafty. People are eating and going. So they want things that they can put in their pockets and go do their thing and have their snack. Obvious little things. Never run out of water. And I know what you're saying. Like, well, how the fuck could you run out of water? Man, I've been on movie sets where oh, we need some waters around the set. Oh, so and so's out doing a run, picking them up right now. They'll be here any minute. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, you guys don't have an ample amount of water every day. Like, that's just so day one. That's just so obvious. Another thing that, all crafty tables should have coffee 24 hours. Like, coffee should be on a movie set at all times. You should never be waiting for it. It should never be like, oh, we do coffee in the morning and then we bring it out again at night. It's like, no, coffee around the clock. Caffeine, that's something that keeps a lot of crew people going. Particularly, it seems like the camera department loves their caffeine. So always have the coffee going. Be aware of people's allergies. Be aware if there's a vegetarian on set and a vegan on set. Like, don't even question it. Have vegan options. Have vegetarian options. Make sure that there's some protein on the table. Again, instead of getting the granola bars, maybe you spend an extra buck and you get a couple protein bars. Maybe you get some muscle milk shakes. Get the kind of things that give people fuel to work. Candy's good, but like obviously, if you're just eating candy all day, you're gonna have a sugar high and crash eventually.
I think, yeah, just to jump in, Tommy, I think candy can kind of be a mixed bag. You do want to have some, but I think you have to remember sometimes people get a sugar crash. So they can get excited. They see these Krispy Kreme donuts or Dunkin' Donuts or candy. They eat a bunch of it, and then they get an energy surge. Then a couple hours later, they get their head on the table. So
Right.
that's something for the actor to take care of, or the crew member to take care of themselves too.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, don't be a 6-year-old, but there should be candy on set just to keep, a little chocolate goes a long way. I don't know if you know this, Mike, but
What's that?
back in World War II, part of the GI ration pack, there would always be one Hershey bar in that ration pack because it's known that chocolate makes people happy in intense and stressful situations. It's goddamn science, Mike. I'm not making this up. But yeah, a few dozen donuts go a long way. That's another thing. Like, I did a movie back in March, and towards the end of the show, I went to Dunkin' Donuts and I spent, I don't know, $30. And I walked in with 2 or 3 dozen donuts, and you would think I was walking in with gold, handing out fucking golden doubloons to the crew. And it makes them so happy to know that, like, wow, just a little extra effort. We get a little donut snack here. It was $30, and that came out of my pocket. That's not even out of the budget. So
Right.
I guess the moral of the story here is, yeah, once in a while, if you're a producer, you're gonna have to go into your pocket and spend a little money and take care of your people. If that means going to Dunkin' Donuts and, oh, geez, I spent $35 on donuts. Well, yeah, that's called the price of doing business. Let's catch up. We got a couple of good questions here. Ariana, what's shaking? Good to see you,
Hello,
Ariana.
Ariana.
Michael Whitney, what's happening, Michael?
I
You're
think
doing
Michael's
great.
a first-time commenter, as far as I know.
No, I think Michael's been with us a couple times. Mike, drop a comment down. I think we've seen you here before. Scotty, what's up, brother? Have you ever had a crazy snack request from actors on set without naming names? You know, a lot of the actors that I've dealt with, believe it or not, it's not food as much. It's usually beverages. You know, actors like their specialty beverages. So I'd say, again, like not a crazy request, but you know, lattes, teas, green tea, special types of tea. Like Eric Roberts really loved having a green tea standing by for him at all times. I don't drink coffee, boss. Coffee makes you crash. Green tea will give you sustained energy throughout the night. So yeah, a lot of a lot of that for a lot of drinks, a lot of smoothies. Actors like their smoothies, stuff that kind of keeps them going, but it's not going to fill them up. I did work on a movie with Keenan Thompson once. This is a fun, quick story. And Keenan was, I was working with him in the scene. I think I might have mentioned this in one of our opposite sex episode. But we were working with Keenan, and the PA came up and was like, "Do you need anything? Can I get you anything?" And he's like, "Is there a McDonald's nearby?" And the PA was like, "I can get you McDonald's." And he goes, "I would love a Big Mac right now. You guys want anything? Do you want anything? You want anything?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I obliged. I got myself a Big Mac too. And sure enough, we had some McDonald's fly in. So, all different tastes and types out there. But yes, you will get your interesting requests, but usually nothing too crazy. All pretty, standard stuff. Uh,
Tommy, I wanted to say that I actually benefited from Eric Roberts' unique flavorings because he ordered a bunch of stuff. They got him some cans for that film, Mr. Birthday, and he was actually wrapped and done. And then either he left behind his bag of treats, or somebody forgot to give his bag of treats to Eric Roberts. So I got his bag of treats, which included like all these high-end, canned teas. One thing I wanted to say before, Tommy, you talked about having vegetarian options or even vegan options, which is actually a lot more difficult than vegetarian. But if you are the filmmaker, or if you're the person in charge of catering and you are the vegetarian or you are the vegan or you are the person with a special eating thing, remember to not push your eating beliefs or your political eating beliefs on others. And I've experienced that, Tommy, where if someone's a vegetarian filmmaker, they feel it's their responsibility to enforce that or promote that to all the people working on their set. It's not really the time to do that.
they say, "Put that jerky down."
Put that hamburger out of your mouth. I mean, it's a thing where
Like if they saw a Slim Jim, they might get upset about that.
well, it's just a thing where they might have and people, trust me, I've hung out with vegetarians, Tommy. They're very strong in their beliefs, and that's great. But at times that can be overwhelming to others that don't have those beliefs. And if you're trying to make a movie, you've got to prioritize making the movie and not pushing your own social agenda, even if it's the right one.
Don't cram your shit down people's throats, is what Mike is saying. Although in this case, we're talking about delicious vegan and vegetarian foods, not shit.
Tofu.
I digress. Let's move on. So, guys, another nice, simple thing you can do. This one costs a little more money, a little more, but it goes a long way. Once a week, if you're on like a 3-week shoot, or if you can't afford it, if it's not in your budget, maybe at the end of your shoot, a great thing to do is hire a food truck to come to set. A food truck shows up to set, everyone gets fucking excited. Everyone suddenly, it's almost like, when you're a kid, you're going to like watch a movie in school later that day. People get a little fired up because it breaks the monotony. When you're on a movie set, you're eating the same stuff every day. You're usually dealing with the same caterer. So yeah, they have some different options, but it's all cooked in the same place. It all kind of tastes the same. Get that food truck in. Maybe you get some tacos. Maybe you get some. We had an Iggy's clam cakes truck show up to the last movie that I worked on called Chosen Family. It was really cool to see that. Everyone got their French fries, their clam cakes, burgers with chicken fingers, whatever they want. It's just nice to know that you're going to get a little something different, and it feels like a treat. And there's something about food too. Again, not to make this a whole episode on goddamn food. We're going to move along in a minute. But food is a communal thing. It brings people together. When everyone's enjoying a snack together, they tend to chat a little bit. You get a little happy. People start, they snack. They do the little snacking dance. You ever see the little snacking dance? They'll be snacking on something and kind of excited about it. It's a good thing. It's great for morale. So if you have it within your budget to get the catering truck, to get a food truck to show up, that's going to go a long way, and the crew's going to be fucking stoked, and they're going to feel like, wow, these people, you know what? They might even give a goddamn about me. And that's a nice thing. And hey, if you don't have a food truck, here's another quick thing. Maybe you don't have the extra $1,000 or $2,000 to spend on having a food truck show up for an hour or two. Well, maybe you find a specialty food store or specialty, whatever's to your local folks. Like, for example, here in Rhode Island, Dell's Lemonade is a big thing. And it's basically just like a frozen lemonade drink. It's basically a slushy. It's a specialty slushy, if you will. So, okay, maybe you don't have $2,000 to spend on a food truck rental for the day, but you can go to Dell's Lemonade and you can spend 30, 40 bucks and get 2 big tubs of Dell's, or maybe it's a little more, maybe it'd be more like 50 to 100 bucks, but you just bring in some big tubs of Dell's and, hey guys, it's hot today, so I got you some Dell's. Just little things like that to show that these people aren't just a fucking number. They're not just some robot that you hired. They're, you care a little about them. You want to go the extra effort.
I think an overall point you're getting at, Tommy, is as the filmmaker, as the producer, director, whoever's in charge of these decisions, by taking forth a little extra effort, a little extra money, you are showing the people that you're working with that you actually do care about them and their safety and their enjoyment of the process. They're not just there to service you or service the film. And I think, Tommy, that's a great point, because sometimes you're talking earlier on the show, but sometimes the ego of the filmmaker, whether it's a writer, director, producer, you start to feel like you're the most important thing in the world. Your vision of a great film is the most important thing. And in a sense, for you, it should be like that, because you're trying to make art. You're trying to make something very hard to create. But at the same time, you have the human beings that are literally helping you, whether they're getting paid or not. Hopefully they are. And you want to show your appreciation. And sometimes in lieu of cash, food is a great way to show your appreciation.
No question. I've heard crew people literally say, like, man, that was a fucking tough shoot, but the food was really good. And like, that's what they remember. That's what people remember. All right, let's move on. Okay, so the topic, the headline of this next little bullet point is, give them the info as soon as you get it. And I know what you're saying by that. Well, what do you mean? Like, a lot of producers will feel the need to hold back information from the crew in efforts to, well, we don't want to tell them that just yet because we may veer in this direction. I don't want to release that information yet because I might change my mind later. And sometimes it can be confusing. What I mean by that is, like, sometimes the producers will have a good idea that the call is going to be pushed to a later call the next day, or maybe it's going to be pulled and it's going to be earlier. And they might not tell everyone right away because they're trying to gamble a little bit and be like, well, maybe we'll get out of here on time and we'll be good. And then you end up going overtime. And then at the last minute, when everyone's walking out the door, you have to tell them, like, hey guys, we're meeting at this time and not this time. And then everyone's like, oh shit. And sometimes people don't get that information. What I mean by that is, like, a lot of times there'll be a change up by production and an email will go out overnight, right? Not everyone's checking their email overnight. You just worked a 12, 13-hour day. You're going home, you're unwinding, you're putting your phone down, and you're going to bed. So a lot of times people will, the next morning, bleary-eyed, be like, the fuck? Oh shit, we're not working until this time today? Man, I could have slept another hour. I could have done this. I could have done my laundry. Again, right. Sometimes producers forget that crew people are human beings and they have needs. They have things they got to do. like laundry, like pick up the kids at school, drop them off at school, whatever, go get my prescription at the drugstore, go pick up my dry cleaning, whatever it is. And maybe had you told them the night before that you were starting an hour later, maybe they would have planned a little differently. So I guess what I'm saying is, give them the information as soon as you get it. For example, here's another great example. You're cutting your way through the day. You're really cruising and it's lunchtime. Sometimes the producers might say, well, shit, we've already shot like most of our day by lunch. We only have another scene after lunch. Maybe we can do a little more. Maybe we can, pull a scene from tomorrow and shoot it today. Well, that's all well and good. But if there are elements in that scene for tomorrow that aren't prepared for today and the crew doesn't know about it, you tell your art department, hey, we're shooting scene 65 tonight instead of tomorrow. They might say, oh my God, well, scene 65 has a giant shark in it, and I don't have my giant shark yet. I got to get one right now. Why didn't you tell me that this morning there might be a chance that we're going to use the giant shark? By the way, it's Shark Week. Happy Shark Week, everyone. So it's one of those things where if you even think you might be shooting additional footage that night, tell people right fucking away, because again, everyone's got a job to do. And sometimes producers' eyes can get bigger than their stomachs. And they say to themselves, oh, we're going to shoot this and we're going to shoot this later. Let's get ahead. Let's get ahead. And you end up forcing something out without all the proper elements together. And now the crew's scrambling like fuck to really, again, they did their job, but now it looks like they didn't do their job. They're the ones that look ill prepared. And it's like, well, no, I'm not ill prepared. You told me this shit was going down tomorrow, and now you're telling me it's tonight. So I got to move. So give them the info.
I was thinking, Tommy, what you just brought up, so many nightmare scenarios. You could have an actor who, okay, we're not shooting that, church scene until Thursday. I'll go get my suit pressed and cleaned and have it here on Thursday. And then Wednesday night, they're there at the set. Oh, we're doing the church scene tonight. And that poor actor doesn't have their suit. And they're going to look like the jerk. Well, you should have had your suit clean before the whole thing began. And it's tough, Tommy, because I understand the need or the desire, like you said, for this, hypothetical producer, director to get things going, to keep the momentum. But at the same time, people aren't inside your mind along for the ride. There's a chain of command, and there's a amount of time that people need to prepare. So you do make some good points here.
Well, that's why, Mike, one of the things that I like to put on my call sheets are, we'll shoot our day. Let's say we got an 8-page day ready to rock, shoot our 8-page day. And then at the bottom of the call sheet, I'll often put, if time permits, and then we'll add like an additional scene or two. That way, at the beginning of the day, the actors know, the crew knows, hey, if we happen to be banging through this day, we're probably going to get to that shit later. And again, from a cast standpoint, I know this episode's more about how to take care of your crew, but I've been there before as an actor, man, where you think that like, all right, that shit's not shooting until next week. I don't really need to prepare that scene just yet. I'm going to read that over the weekend and I'll be on point next week. And then they tell you, hey, we're shooting scene 63. And I'm like, I got a bunch of lines in that scene that I haven't even looked at. So, it really does trickle down and affect everyone. Here's another bullet point. Now, I know I've said before that, don't be pitching the director ideas and don't be pitching the producers ideas on how to do things. But sometimes I'm not even talking about creativity. I'm talking about just common sense stuff. If a crew person suggests something to you and it makes sense, listen to them. And I know you're saying, well, obviously you listen to them. No, not obviously. I've seen some of these like megalomaniac, crazy filmmakers that just because the idea didn't come from them, they're not going to do it. They're going to be so fucking stubborn that, oh, well, no, we're not doing that because of this. They're actually going to like quickly get defensive and come up with a reason why they're not doing that rather than just being like, shit, that's a good idea. All right, we're going to do that. And here's why, guys, like, again, as the director, as the producer, don't feel like, oh, I shouldn't let these people tell me what to do. I'm in charge. It's like, yeah, you're in charge, but you're also making about, I'd say the average director makes maybe at minimum 1,000 decisions a day, minimum. So like, while you're making those 1,000 decisions, it's easy to get a little clouded on some of the simple shit. So remember, these people are on the pirate ship with you. They're on the same boat. So if they suggest something, again, I'm not even talking about creatively. It might be like, hey, it's really fucking cold out there tonight. Like maybe, it's 9 degrees out tonight. We're out here filming. Like maybe we go inside for 15 minutes after after the scene and just everyone warms up. Like I've had like, the elder statesman of the crew come up to me and suggest something about crew safety or about, hey, she's getting a little tired over there, like during a stunt scene. Maybe give her a break, or these guys are winded. Can we take 5 or whatever? Sorry, guys, I'm being so rude. My phone is blowing the fuck up here. Don't people know it's Tuesday at 11?
Your phone and my creaky chair. What the hell are we doing today, buddy?
Terrible.
Tommy, you're talking about that directors who do not listen to creative or even technical directions. What you're talking about makes a lot of sense to me. And I think that you, as a director, you should realize for an actor or a crew member to actually come up to you, something really probably is wrong, unless that person's just a whiny Kathy or whatever the term is, Doug and Wendy Weiner from the old Saturday Night Live skits. But if for a crew or cast member to broach that, must mean there really is an issue, because 9 times out of 10, Tommy, or 99 out of 100, people don't want to be the person to bear bad news. You know what I mean? It's just a psychological thing. They don't want to be the squeaky mouse who complains. So if they're actually trying to do that tactfully, try to have some compassion and understand this person, if they're talking on behalf of another actor, maybe that other actor is too afraid or too shy to speak up for themselves. I think that's a really good point that people should think about.
Yeah, you got to just don't spite yourself. Don't ignore a great idea just to spite yourself because you think that you're the all end all be all creative on set. Next one's simple, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but parking. I feel like secretly parking probably causes more anxiety for a crew and a cast than anyone ever realizes. One of the most nervous belly, I use that term all the time, like what gives us the most nervous belly is, most of the time when you're on a movie set, you're going to a place that you've never been before. And there's always that wonder of like, okay, it's not like I'm going to the dentist and I'm only going to be there for an hour. It's like, you're going to be there for fucking 14 hours. Where do I park my car? Is there going to be safe parking? Is it going to be easy to get to? So just always have easy, simple parking solutions for your crew and let them know ahead of time. Don't expect them to just kind of fend for themselves. I've been on a lot of shoots where, you pull into the lot's full, you ask a PA, where do I park? And they say like, just park on the street somewhere. And it's like, park on the street? Like, what the fuck? Like you're basically asking me to get a ticket now because I'm parked on the street for 12 hours. And it's just like, again, so that's something that I think some producers could think about a little harder. Like every time you're in a location, like, all right, feasibly, where am I going to put, even on a small crew, like some of the smaller films that I've done, you're still talking about 25 people and 25 cars. That's a lot of fucking cars to just put somewhere. I mean, that's a used car lot right there. It's a small used car lot. So like, what am I going to do with all these cars? So just think about that shit.
Yeah, Tommy, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, bud.
In Boston, I think this topic is huge. I think a lot of times, Tommy, I've done acting work in Boston or outside of Boston, and it's a great city, great sports town, but a parking town, it is not. And so I've been in those situations, Tommy, when first of all, the traffic to get into Boston is really tough, and then the parking can be horrendous. And like you said, if a production really wants people to be there on time, have parking available, because otherwise, if they're forced to find their own stuff on the street, there might be areas where you're afraid to park your car on the street, especially if you're an actor with a lot of bags or suitcases in their vehicle. If you've got to drag some of those bags to the set, that's going to be tough. The parking's a huge issue. So if you have the means, by any means you can, provide ample parking for everybody. That's going to make things a lot easier for everyone.
Yeah, Mike, real quick, I think you went frozen on us. You're frozen in time, brother.
Am I still frozen now?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's oh, you're moving a little bit.
Am I
Yeah,
okay, buddy?
no, you're still frozen, but maybe it'll catch itself up. In the meantime, maybe we can hear you. We just can't see you.
Oh, okay.
All right, so guys, the next thing to do is this sounds like a real simple one. Mike, do you want to maybe log out and step back in?
Yeah, I'm still frozen. Okay.
Yeah, you're still frozen. While Mike is logging out and jumping back in defrosting himself, let's talk about simple thank yous, guys. I know this is again, I feel like it's the common sense train, but the truth is, you got to thank people all the time, and not just for, you know, let's see if we can add Mike back in here. No, I got a blank image here. Mikey is frozen in a weird land. Yeah, but now you're all just black now. It's just a black screen.
Give it a second, see if it pops in.
Yeah, it popped in, but you're still kind of stutter stepping. But we can hear you, so you know maybe it'll fix itself. Sorry about the inconvenience, guys. Mike is going to be a frozen, pixelated blur to my
Han Solo.
But we promise you that he is there in spirit. He has not given up on us, and we hope that his feed eventually catches on up. So yeah, guys, simple thank yous go a long way, and I'm not talking about, you know, at the end of the show, go up to them and say, "Hey, thanks for the work." I mean, like, thank them for all the little things that they do. You know, don't be afraid to go up to the sound person and say, like, "Hey, man, I was listening on the headphones. Like, we got really great sound on that last setup. That was fucking great." Don't be afraid to go up to the stunt coordinator and say, "Man, that stuff looks so fucking good. Thank you so much. Like, all that time you guys put in really paid off." I'm talking about thanking individual crew people for their immediate contributions to the movie, specific contributions to the movie, not just an overall, "Hey, thanks. It was really great working with you. Thanks. Appreciate it." No, like, let them know what you're fucking thankful about. Again, you know, I'm not trying to shit on a thank you. Any thank you is a good thank you, but try to be a little more sincere. You know, when you're thanking someone, let them be aware of what they did. Because here's the thing, and Mike mentioned it before. You know, this episode applies to a lot of up and coming young filmmakers. Well, if you got some young crew member, thank them specifically and tell them why and what they did great that you really appreciated, because they're going to learn from that. They're going to say, "Wow, you know, the director came up with me and thanked me. He said, 'Hey, I really appreciate how you're always moving these cables out of the way, so when I walk back to my monitor, I'm not tripping over a bunch of fucking wires. Thank you for keeping it tidy back here.'" Wow, I'm going to remember to do that now fucking forever. So you have no idea how far a simple and specific thank you can go. Again, don't just try to be like, you know, Tony Thank You, who just says, "Hey, thank you, thank you." Be specific about the thanks, and don't be afraid. I mean, you can't get enough thanks. So, like, don't be afraid to thank people every day. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like you're a goddamn school teacher telling everyone to have a nice day, waiting by the door when everyone leaves. But, you know, I'd say for the most part, I'm thanking my crew every night. You know, it's not like a end of the show thing. So simple thanks goes a long way.
Tommy, are you a thank you card individual, or is that too much?
I'm not, you know, I'm really not. I mean, listen, I've got nothing against that. It's just, you know, it's a wonderful touch. I've never really made a thank you card, but I am a fan of an occasional wrap gift. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like again, you know, this is a little thing, but if I overhear that someone likes a certain type of snack or whatever, or they like this or they like that, like, you know, somebody on the feed here mentioned, where is it? Scott mentioned, I bet, energy drinks too. Energy drinks are big on set. I live by Bang Energy. I'm hoping that they sponsor me someday. I usually have like definitely one, sometimes two. I'll usually have my Bang at like lunchtime, and then I'll have one like late in the day to get me through the end of the day. And there have been times when, like, you know, people say like, "Oh, I love that energy drink," or "I love this," and like the next day, I'll bring an extra one and I'll hand them to them and I'll say, "Hey, here you go. You know, and you said you like this." It goes a long way, man. It costs what, $3? You know.
The personal touch
Yeah, the personal touch has been kind of lost over the last, decade or so. So it can come back. We're gonna give it a comeback. Um, so this is another one here. Try to find creative ways to get them more money. A little bit goes a long way. And here are some ways to do that. Uh, if at all possible, instead of going to a rental house to get all your gear, try to rent your gear directly from a person. A lot of movies that I've made, you'll bring your DP on uh, after you've already made a deal with like a rental house for camera gear and camera equipment. Well, a lot of DPs own their own gear. So it's kind of like, oh man, I wish you had rented all this stuff from me instead of going to a camera house. I could have got you everything you needed. Same thing with like a sound person. A lot of times they'll have their own gear. So it's like, all right, well, we can pay you this for a day rate and I'll throw you this much for your kit rental fee. So that's just some little ways to like get them a little extra money. And again, I'm not trying to give away any industry secrets here, but you'd be surprised. Like, I've locked down key crew people for literally like an extra $50 a week. Like, just throwing out that little extra, like, all right, well, it's a low budget movie, but I can give you an extra 50 uh, a week or an extra 100 a week for this, for that, whatever. Again, a little bit goes a long way. One of the keys to negotiations is the willingness to bend a little bit. So if you give just a little bit, somebody will at least say, well, geez, that's not quite what I think it's worth, but at least this person's fucking trying to do something. And that's kind of the difference.
Yeah, Tommy, it makes me think of, $50 that's depending on your vehicle, that's a tank or two of gas. And these type of negotiations always make me think of like the hair and makeup people, which are often but not always women. And sometimes they have, what they call a kit fee, like their hair and their makeup especially is very expensive. And filmmakers, especially male filmmakers, don't realize that this makeup in itself costs a lot of money. And if you really think about it, why should a person spend their money to buy all this makeup to make your actors and actresses look great? That should be on the filmmaker. Tommy, I'm going to just take myself out. Maybe you put me back in and we'll see if that fixes it.
Maybe do a reboot, Mike, just a general reboot, and we'll get you back in there because everybody misses your face. Oh, hey guys, it's just me and you now. Oh boy, we've widened out the angle now. All right, so I'm gonna keep it going while Mike gets his shit back together. So yeah, we're gonna try to find creative ways to get people some more money. Here's another one. I've made this deal a lot with people, and you want to be careful with this deal. In fact, a lot of times I don't like to make this deal until after the fact because sometimes people can sort of use it to work against you. But a lot of times, and this is a rare occurrence, but if there's leftover money in a department's budget for whatever reason, like let's say your art department has X amount of money to spend, and then you're able to save a little bit and say like, and I'm just throwing numbers out there to give you an example, but like let's say the art department's budget for your production was $5,000. Okay. Well, they only spent 4,500. Well, guess what? You are within your rights as the producer to say, hey, listen, we had this money allocated for art. You did a great job. You came in under budget. We've got an extra $500 in the budget. I want to give it to you as a bonus for all the extra effort and hard work you did to keep the movie under budget. Because the reality is, most budgets go way over. So if you happen to be under and there's a little bit of money left over, don't be afraid to give that to the department head. And then it's up to them. If they want to disperse it to their people, let them disperse it to their people. If they want to put it in their pocket, God bless them. They're the fucking department head. They can do whatever they want with that money. So that's a simple one. And then this is another one. And, you got to negotiate your deals. You got to be smart about stuff. But, maybe if you've noticed that there's a PA on set that's been working for free or something like that, and you just didn't have it in the budget to pay them a rate, and they're all, there's some young up and coming kid and they're willing to work for free, and that's okay. I mean, listen, I worked for free for a couple years at the beginning of my career. We all have to eventually, put a little sweat equity in. But if they're working for free, maybe you can say to them at the end of the show, man, that person was so reliable. They were there every time I needed them, and they fucking drove themselves here, sometimes an hour a day or longer. you know what? I'm going to throw them a little bit of gas money at the end of the shoot. Give them $100 gas card, just a token of appreciation. Hey, I want to fill your tank up. Thank you so much. Again, not a big thing. We're talking about a little expense here, but it goes a long way. Folks, he's back from the frozen tundra. Oh, Mike, thank God you're back. We missed you. But now we can't hear you. Let me see. Do I have to turn something on? Boy, are we just having all the Murphy's Laws in full effect today on And Action. While Mike is figuring out his audio, let's go back and say hey to some of the commenters. Let's see. Cassidy, what's up, brother? It's a goddamn science. It really is. I mean, chocolate makes people happy.
I think I'm back, Tommy.
He's back. Bang Energies. We talked about that. Good idea. Hey, Charlie Short Films. What's up, brother? We missed you last week. Stephen E says, everyone remember to hit the like button. Thank you, Stephen E. And please do if you haven't checked this out. And if you haven't subscribed, some people just might even haven't hit that subscribe button on the Tom DiNucci YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. Scott says, Jon Favreau let Mercedes bring her own stunt ideas to The Mandalorian, and he loved them. I bet, man. I can't wait to talk about Mercedes and her stunt work. I got to watch her do her thing on the set of The Collective, and when I tell you, I've never seen an actor take to a sequence of fight coordination in my life the way I've seen Mercedes take to it. Total duck to water. Literally, the stunt coordinator told her the sequence, and she just first take of the rehearsal went out and banged it out to a T. So, yeah, Mercedes is a next level stunt performer, and it's no question that a lot of that has to do with the crazy athletic ability she has from her years of wrestling. All right, let's keep it moving. Ariana, you just have to master the art of making people think your ideas are their ideas. That really is quite a Jedi mind trick, and it is something that can be utilized in this business very, very well because, people like to feel good about their creative contributions. Miss Ash, what's happening, Miss Ash? Mike is up. Mike is in the dial-up, Eric.
AOL.
Mike is hitting us with that 56K.
AOL.com.
I can hear the sound of the 56K dial-up crashing. Scott says, you told Mike his chair was too loud. Yeah, see, your chair squeaking, and then you froze into a pit of total internet ice. I got the Bang Energy in the car right now. Love it, Stephen E. Yeah, man, that shit really is like a cheap line of cocaine. See, now they're probably never gonna sponsor. They're never gonna want me to sponsor them now. You compared our energy drink to a cheap line of cocaine.
Did you purposely rub your nose right after you made that line, Tommy, or was that just
Bang Energy, man? Okay, Stephen E. The Dollar Tree now carries Bang. There you go. You can stock up on them bangs. Scott says, I love the clip you uploaded of the crew giving Mercedes a round of applause after filming The Collective. Very touching. Yeah, that's what we do, man. Raps are a very special thing. It's funny. That we probably do a whole episode on that, but some actors don't want to be rapped out. They don't want all the kind of attention and the clapping and the applause and all that stuff. Other actors, to me, I think every actor deserves that because they put in all this effort. They've had all these random crew people staring at them for the last however many days, while they're doing their thing and the pressure's on them. It's a nice way for the crew to kind of be like, hey, we appreciate all you did on this show. So yeah, that was a really cool clip, and go on to my YouTube channel and check that one out.
Let me share a quick take on the rap applause, Tommy. I just see it as a way of just letting people know, hey, this person that you just worked with for a day or for 3 or 4 weeks or whatever is leaving. So if you want to say goodbye or exchange social media or phone numbers or whatever, now's the time to do it because you're not going to see them tomorrow. I just see it more like that.
Yeah, it's a celebration of their work. Miss Ash says, I'd have an anxiety attack with that much caffeine. Yeah, you'd think that, but if you worked for a 15-hour day, 16-hour day, you might need that much caffeine because I just find that, the fatigue is unbelievable. That's something that I can never fully express to anyone. And it's one of those things where unless you've really done it, you can't imagine You know, a lot of people, my friends, my personal buddies, they bust my balls. They're like, what do you mean? Oh, so tiring. So tiring and challenging being a director. You sit in a fucking chair and watch TV all day. You know, like that's my friends busting my balls take on it. But you have no idea how like physically exhausting that much mental output on a constant making thousands of decisions a day and conversing with all these different people, it kills you. Like if you had an energy meter in a video game, it's like you're on fucking red and you're blinking. So the bangs, they do a little something for me, and a lot of that's like my attitude too. Like I find that like if I'm tired and an actor asks me a question and I'm all like kind of downtrodden about it, like it looks like I don't give a shit. Whereas if I had my bang, I'm like, all right, yeah. So then you're gonna come around the building and you're gonna walk this way. And it's gonna be great. And I'm just like, I'm more fired up about it. And if I'm fired up about it, they're gonna be a little fired up about it. All right, let's keep this thing rolling because guys, I'm loving today's show. I thought today was gonna be kind of like a quick bang bang play, like a double play, 6-4-3 double play. You know, shortstop, second base, first base, little baseball talk. I thought it was gonna be a 6-4-3 double play. But instead, here we are talking. We're 50 minutes in, and I still got a bunch of topics, and I want to keep going. So basically, let's talk about. We talked about thanking people. We talked about a creative way to give people more money. All right, here's a big one that it's so easy to fuck this one up, and God knows I've done it. If you really like someone and you liked working with them, hire them again. And I know that sounds simple, but there have been so many times when I regret it, where all this time passes from production to production. And, you know, maybe you worked with someone a year ago, maybe you worked with someone 3 years ago, and then boom, okay, we're going into production again. We're crewing up, right? That old phrase, crewing up. We're getting people together. Okay, we need a sound person. We need this. We need a PA. We need that. And you crew up and you do it quick and you make your list and you make your phone calls. And then you say, oh, shit. What about so and so? We could have called so they're the fucking best. Why didn't we call them? Like, I forgot. I just went with the last person that we worked with. And the reason why we didn't get them on the last show was because they were booked. You know, sometimes producers are so quick to just like copy paste the same
Right.
crew from their last fucking movie and just drop it down and be like, let's carry them over, just carry them over, carry them over. And you end up forgetting, like, oh, wait a minute, this person's way better. And the reason why we didn't work with them last time is only because they weren't available. There was no heat there, nothing bad happened. So what I recommend people do is like before you even make phone call number one to get someone excited about a potential job, go back and look at like not just the last movie you did, but like the last 2 or 3 or 4 movies that you worked on. And remember, the word movie can be interchanged for the sake of like music video or short film or whatever. Just don't be afraid to go beyond just the last project you did. Remember, like there might be someone from your past that you forgot all about that would be the perfect fit. And just because they weren't at the tip of your tongue, you didn't use them. And then you feel bad because you're like a week into production and you're like, oh man, I really wish we hired so and so because this guy sucks or he's just not as strong or whatever.
Yeah, and that's a tough one, Tommy, because and I've seen you get caught in that situation. I have as well, where you're trying to make everybody happy, you're trying to be fair to everyone, but sometimes there's 12 people in 10 chairs, and so you just do the best you can with that. I'd also say on the flip side of that, for crew members who might sit on the bench for a project or two, trying to be understanding and patient with your friend, the filmmaker, because a lot of times, like I said, there's just only so many spots and it just may not be your turn, so to speak. I wish that I think actors actually probably have a bigger problem with that than crew members, but I think for anybody, it's easy to get that fear of missing out and that feeling of rejection. But sometimes there's just not a spot for you in this one, and hopefully there will be in the next one.
Yes, indeed. We talked about this. I forget which episode it was, but you're not going to be on every movie set, and it's going to suck and it's going to sting. But you know that there's no crying in baseball or movies. All right, so let's keep it moving. We only got a few more here. Now listen, I'm not saying you got to break the bank on this, but I think every crew deserves a rap party or a rap event of some kind as an acknowledgement and a celebration of all the hard work and effort that they put in. Doesn't have to be a big fancy dinner at an expensive place. It could legit be a cookout at someone's house. You could be grilling hot dogs and hamburgers and playing fucking cornhole in the backyard. Or it could be pizza and bowling at, simple pizza shop, whatever. Keep it simple, but it's a nice token of appreciation for the crew so that they know that, like, okay, wow, these producers actually, it's like a little thank you. It's a little, congratulations. It's a little, we crossed the finish line together as a team. There's a lot of unity and a lot of team feeling in filmmaking. So remember, you're on a movie set with these people 12 to 14 hours a day, but you're working. So you never really get to kind of like let your hair down and just kind of bullshit. I mean, yeah, there's plenty of bullshit that goes on, but it's nice to know that, like, okay, this little group that we made this great project with, tonight we can just hang out. Nobody's going to have to fucking hold a boom mic. No one's going to have to fucking rig any lighting. We're just going to hang out and bond. So it's a great way to build that kind of team unity and to give back a little bit and make that crew feel like you appreciate what they did.
Tommy, what you were saying just a minute ago makes me want to go to Chuck E. Cheese and have a Chuck E. Cheese pizza party with the talking rat. I always wondered, why is a rat the sponsor of a pizza restaurant for children? But just having a party, like you said, a rat party is a good idea whenever possible.
Yeah, and Mike, if you're going to Chuck E. Cheese, be careful, because I don't think you're allowed in there without a child. I'm pretty sure that's part of that's a true story. You can't go to Chuck E. Cheese just like as an adult. Did you know that?
I haven't tried, but I believe you. I'm
pretty sure. And Action Hotline, somebody look that up. I'm pretty sure you're not allowed in Chuck E. Cheese unless you're with a kid. Like, I
remember there was a point when
guys can't just go to Chuck E. Cheese, because that's how they keep like fucking creeps out of there.
Yeah, the weirdos. But I remember being a teenager and you couldn't go to Chuck E. Cheese without either a parent. Like, you had to have a parent, because they didn't want just teenage thugs hanging out in Chuck E. Cheese either to play the video games. They wanted the family situation.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you go to Chuck E. Cheese, there's like a sign on the fucking door that's like, you got to have a kid with you. And no, I did not learn that by experience. Thank you very much, Ariana.
A kid or a rat? Yeah.
Or you need to have either a child or a mechanical animal of some kind.
Mechanical rat.
Fucking mechanical Chuck E. Cheese band was scary, but we're going off topic here. Let's get back into it. All right, guys, here's another thing to be mindful of. And man, I fucked this one up before, and it's awful. And the production that I worked on almost got sued because of it. It can get really serious. When you're doing your credits, your final credits, I gotta stress to you to go over that credit sheet 1,000 fucking times and really make sure that you didn't forget anyone, because there is nothing worse. There's nothing worse than, okay, the movie plays, everyone watches the movie, the credits roll, and what does everyone do for the most part? We're all fucking egomaniacs. It's okay. We're all just sitting there waiting to see our name in the credits. And imagine waiting. Your eyes, watch my eyes. They're scrolling, and your name is just, it's not there. We get to the end. That's the fucking copyright thing. Like, that's the end of the credits. Where's my name? Listen, shit happens, and sometimes you can just get forgotten in the credits, and it's a misstep. It's a total mistake, and it's unacceptable, but it happens. So some easy things to do to make sure that doesn't happen. Obviously there are things like crew lists to look at. Refer to your crew list. But sometimes I've even gone as far as to like look at behind the scenes stills, like photos of the shoot, and be like, we get this person? Do we get that person? Because sometimes, like, you might just have like, a hair and makeup person that just came into work for 2 days for a specific reason, because maybe you had extra cast in that day. You might have an art department person who just came in for 1 day to help out on a heavy day. They might not even be on the crew list. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's like you can miss them. So just really be careful. Another good thing is go to all your department heads when you're about to make your credits and say, hey, just about to make the credits. Was there anyone that helped you that I'm not aware of that wasn't on the crew sheet? Is there anyone you want us to mention? So just listen, credits don't fucking cost a thing. It's literally your editor typing something. So, we're not going to lose anything by adding a name or two extra to the credits, but you will lose something if you don't add a name, because someone could literally sue you for that.
And if I could add, Tommy, even courtroom proceedings aside, just the court of public opinion, or just keeping on good tidings with people. And here's another thought for you, Tommy. I think sometimes people kind of forget, if someone has a nickname, like, for me, it's Mike, not Michael. You would have Tom or Tommy, and people should just ask, like, hey, do you want to be Tom or Tommy in the credits? Do you want to be Mike or Michael? Sometimes people have initials for a name. I have a cousin named AJ. Do you want AJ, or do you want A period, J period? Or do you want us to spell out whatever AJ stands for? Sometimes we get too familiar with people and we think that we know what they want, and we don't. And the easiest thing is just to ask. But it's shocking how people don't want to spend the extra minute or email or whatever just to clarify the credit. And sometimes people, if they are in SAG-AFTRA, by the way, they might really want their name listed as their union name lists. Another thing, Tommy, is sometimes I've been the victim of this. I was in a independent, short film once, and the guy decided to give me a little nickname in the credits, and that was the last time I worked with that guy, because I don't think credits are the time when you want to play jokes or do nicknames or pull a rib.
What a fucking douchebag.
Yeah, I never worked with that guy again. And
what did he call you? What was the nickname?
Well, I had a nickname as Mad Dog. And he did a pun on that. See what happened? He was filming this thing at his house, and
I don't need to know what he was filming. Just what did he call you? What was the nickname?
It was a variation of Mad Dog. Let's put it that way. But I didn't want any nickname on my credit. Just Mike Messier is fine.
I feel like it was weird if you don't want to mention.
I'm not going to empower this fuck from South County, Rhode Island in 2002.
But I think it's a little bizarre if you're not mentioning it here.
I'll mention it to you off the air.
I think the And Action folks would want to know what he called you.
If we get over 300 views this week, I'll mention it next week.
Oh, come on! That's not going to happen.
That's not too hard.
Guys. All right. Well, you heard him. You heard him, folks. Spread the word. Share this page. Get this out there to 300 views, and we'll find out the bizarre nickname that Mike was given. That he seems to want to hide from us. Okay.
I've held a grudge for 22 years about it, Tommy. Not that I'm counting.
Well, maybe if you mention it on the show, it'll exercise the grudge, and you won't have to have all that nervous belly. Fuck this guy. Who cares about him? Anyway, all right, Mike's going to tell us next week, because we're going to get to 300 views. All right, so guys, hey, think about it. The movie's eventually going to come out, and you're going to want to celebrate it with everyone. So don't forget to think about everyone come premiere time. If you're going to have a premiere or a screening event, even if it's a year. And guys, I've been on movies where sometimes it's fucking 2 years later. I've shot a movie, and then the movie didn't come out, and the premiere didn't happen until 2 fucking years. Children have been born and grown up to the point where they can speak and almost fucking walk, and the amount of time it takes to put this piece of shit out. And that's a long time that goes by. Don't forget about the people that helped you get to the finish line when it comes time to have the premiere. So what you do is you got to dig up them old emails, and you got to find that crew list. You got to find that cast list. You got to get everyone and make them abreast to it. Make announcements on social media. Say, hey, about to do a screening. If you worked on this movie, email this thing, whatever. Don't forget about people, because again, there's nothing worse than like feeling like left out. You know what I mean? Like working on a movie, and then imagine the awful feeling of like you worked on this movie a year ago, and now like you're looking on Facebook, and now I'm watching everyone post all their pictures from the premiere, and I didn't even get a fucking invite. You guys forgot about me. So like, again, don't leave people out. It's so easy to be all inclusive these days.
Yeah, Tommy. I mean, I've been left out of a few things in the past, and we won't get into the dirty details, but it does hurt your feelings. And the other thing, Tommy, it's a good way to lose future collaborators, because if people feel like their efforts were ignored or taken for granted or not fully appreciated on one project, they're not likely to come back for another project.
Definitely not, Mike. You got to think about these people, even if, like I said, even if a year or two goes by. And then this is one of the last things that we'll kind of talk about and wrap this topic up. keep in touch. We've talked about this before, but a great way to show that you care about your crew is to occasionally keep in touch with them. Drop them a line, and I'm talking about, obviously you're not going to email every single PA that worked on your movie, but this is, primarily for your department heads, your people that you're really going to like lean on, your production designers, your sound engineer, your hair and makeup, or your costume designer. Once in a while, drop them an email. Say, hey, what's going on? Keep them posted on the project. Hey, what's going on? Just wanted to know. We're about picture locked on the movie, and it's looking great. I was watching that scene the other day. That costume that you picked out, that cool green shirt that we liked, it looks fucking awesome on camera. Just a simple note like that, a simple email, man, that shows that you fucking care. It shows that, like, wow, this person's like allowing me to play at home, if you will, keeping me up to speed on all the shit that's going on. You know what I mean? Another thing to do is, a lot of times as the director, and the producers have the same, usually are in the same boat, I'll get photographs from the still photographer on set, sometimes a couple of weeks or even a month after we shoot, because they've got to edit them, they've got to do all the post work on the photos. It's really cool when you're going through all your photos from set, and maybe you see a really nice picture of someone that worked with on the crew. Send them the picture, and say, hey, just got the stills back from the movie, found this great shot of you, fun working with you, can't wait to do it again. Hear that email? Hear how fucking simple that was? Like 2 sentences. That 2 sentences is going to make that crew person feel like $1 million. And now they have a photo that they're going to most likely use to post on their social media and effectively promote your movie for free because they're excited about it. So these are just kind of simple things to do. I'm not talking about, I have pictures of you. I like working with you. I took all these pictures. Don't do any weird shit. I'm not talking about, like, you like on the sly, like just snapping random pictures of fucks. I'm talking about like the official pictures from the still photographer.
I have pictures of you with Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah, Tommy, I think it's a very interesting show this week. And I think the term that I think of on this episode in particular, soft skills. Is that the term that you use? Because I've used that term. Soft skills basically means the non-technical, non-camera, non-lighting, the people skills.
Yeah, again, like the great thing about this, like everything we talked about on the show, for the most part, with the exception of the food stuff, because yes, there's a little bit of a price tag on food. Food's fucking expensive, man. You go to the grocery store now. I'm a single guy who, easily can spend $100 on a week of groceries. I can't even imagine what it's like having a fucking family these days. But my point is, food costs money. But aside from food, everything we talked about on this show is free. It doesn't cost a producer or production any extra money. It's just about being a little bit more mindful and keeping the crew up to speed. And remember, they're on the ship with you. So if they're not motivated, if they're not excited, and this is the end result, the byproduct of all this extra crew care is an extra motivated crew that's going to run through walls for you. That's going to put that extra effort in. If you have that personal touch, maybe the crew member that might have done an okay job, but not really given it everything they have, well, maybe they're going to go that extra mile for you because they feel as though you went that extra mile for them.
Yeah, great way to put it, Tommy. And as a filmmaker, you want people to want to work with you again. You kind of live and die by your reputation in the entertainment industry. And as much as a lot of us would like to go into that, cave and write our poetry or make our paintings or whatever we would do, this is the business of working with people. Filmmaking is collaboration, for better or for worse. So get used to it and do the best you can with it.
Yes, indeed, Mike. Well, this has been a great episode. I really enjoyed talking about crew care. Before we call it quits, I just wanted to let everyone know that next Friday, August 4th, The Collective will be coming out. I'm so excited about that. We're really excited. This is a great movie that I directed with Don Johnson, Lucas Till, Tyrese Gibson, Ruby Rose, and of course, Mercedes Monet, who we talked about earlier on the show. This is a straight up old school throwback action movie. Lots of excitement. We're going to do a whole show on the Collective. We were going to do it next week, but I decided we're going to do it the week after next. So it's going to be not episode 55, which is next week, but it'll be episode 56. Reason why I'm doing that is I wanted to have a chance to let the movie be out for a few days. That way on the show, we can talk some spoiler. We can tread into that spoiler alert territory, and I'm not breaking any rules with the distribution company that puts the movie out. I don't want to give anything away, but if we talk about it next week when the movie's already out, we can talk about whatever we want. So I'm excited for that. I know Scott's excited for the Collective, and I really appreciate that, brother. We're going to get into it all, and I'm going to do a total deep dive on the whole process. So that's going down not next week, but the week after next. Next week, we're going to be talking about Kevin Nash, the former world champion of the WWE. He's not only a wrestler, he's known for so much more than that. He's a terrific podcaster. And also, the reason why we're talking about him, he's a phenomenal actor who's been in a ton of productions, including one that Mike and I worked on called The Manor. So we've talked a little bit about Kevin on the show before. It's going to be great to really just kind of let loose and do a full expose on Kevin Nash. Big, sexy Diesel. Man.
Kevin Nash is, he, in a sense, Tommy, he was doing character work in his wrestling career because he did Oz, he did the Master Blaster tag team, he did Vinny Vegas, and then, of course, Diesel, and then he kind of went old school and just was himself as Kevin Nash in the New World Order. And really a legend. And he's been very cool, so to speak, Big Daddy Cool with us. And he is really a fascinating guy. And beyond The Manor that we worked with him, he also did a movie called Dog that I really liked. And I think the ladies might have liked the Magic Mike series, from what I understand.
I think it's not just the ladies. I think a lot of people like that, I think everybody loves Magic Mike. That was some really great stuff. I'm excited for that. We're going to be talking, Mike and I have we got a lot of fun Kevin Nash stories. Really always been a positive source in my career. So I'm excited to dive into that. Also, guys, I am rapidly approaching 1 million views on my YouTube channel. Thank you. So appreciate that, brother. Keep them views going. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, check it out. It's where we host the show every single week on Tuesday at 11 a.m. So I'm on social media. You can just check me out at Tom DiNucci, and I would love to, see you on my story, taking a look. If you don't mind, we would appreciate anybody who feels like sharing this out, reposting the link. It goes a long way. We're slowly but surely bringing in some new eyes to this show. Doing a podcast like this is very challenging in the sense that, Mike and I aren't stars. We're not celebrities. Everything we have is just kind of good old-fashioned storytelling from experience that we've dealt with. So everything that you do on your end to share the word and spread it, it's been working. We've been slowly but surely, almost each week, getting like 10% and 15% more viewership, and more views come in and more views come in. So it's exciting, keeps us motivated to keep cranking out exciting shows for you every single week. And before we go, let me just see if there's any last comments here. Stephen E. says, in The Color Purple, they left out the girl who played young Sally. Oh,
that's pretty bad. That's a Spielberg movie. That's Spielberg and Oprah. They should know better than that.
Goes to show you, man, even on massive films, like these kind of things just, well, hey, I guess anytime, and this sounds like I'm making an argument for AI to step in, but I'm not. Anytime you have humans handling anything, there's going to be human error. It happens, people make mistakes. Scott says, I know you said you didn't find out much earlier, but any news on where we'll be able to stream The Collective? 10 days to go. I know. It's funny, man. I'm going to do something right now while we're live.
Okay.
Watch The Collective movie 2023. I'm pretty sure it's out on Roku. Yeah, unfortunately, guys, I don't have any new info on that. But I know if you have a Roku device, it's available on that. And the only reason I know that is because a friend of mine was randomly searching on their Roku and sent me, and it's like you can like pre-order it or something. I know you can pre-order it on Amazon now. I wish I had some more info, but I promise, Scott, as soon as I do, I'll be posting it up.
That is a quick
Stephen E.
overview.
says, congratulations. Scott's so hyped for the movie. Appreciate that, bro. When he was champ, it was WWF.
Yes,
I
that's
know,
correct.
brother. I know that because I was 10 years old, and that was probably one of the peaks of my fandom. But, I don't know. What is the ruling on that? I feel like WWE wants you to always say WWE.
Yeah,
Like,
but we
even
don't
if
listen to them. I mean, they want a lot of things, and
wouldn't you say,
2000.
like, I'm saying appropriately, like in history, if you're going to mention someone from the past, they prefer you to always call it WWE, correct?
They,
Like that, like if we were watching a WWE TV show and they were talking about a wrestler, they would say WWE, even if it took place in 1994, correct?
Yeah, but what they say and what I say are two different things, Tommy. And I just, the WWE at this point, they do so many things that are disrespectful to the history of pro wrestling that, for me, they changed the name in May of 2002. And at that point, they became WWE champions or WWE tag team champions and stuff like that. But if it was before of May of 2002, I go back and say WWF. And even before that, Tommy, I think it was 1981 or 82. They went from Worldwide Wrestling Federation to World Wrestling Federation. So you have to remember that as well.
Again, I'm just talking about if you were to be politically correct in the world of wrestling, you would always reference it as WWE. That's all I'm
I
saying.
wouldn't. No, I reference it as to what it was promoted at the time. I don't play their games, Tommy. You know that.
Okay, buddy. Well, we're going to agree to disagree on that one. All right. I always like your links to the collective. People love them. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. Stephen E. says the original Color Purple, not the remake. They forgot to invite her to the rap party to the Oscar. Damn, like how does that happen, man?
I think
Jeez.
this was the one that came out in 86 or 87, I've got to think, right, Stephen E.?
Yeah, he says the original. WWE tried to get the original name back, but lost in court. Yeah, they were basically like, fuck you, Vince. This panda ain't going anywhere. Stephen E. says, remember the World Wildlife Federation? Yeah, of course. That's the panda. It's so funny because as a little kid, I was a big wrestling fan. And I remember in the early eBay days, I would type in WWF to look up WWF toys and merchandise. And I remember occasionally there would be like a fucking panda t-shirt. And I'd be like, what the fuck is this? And that's actually how I learned about the World Wildlife Federation. We're not going to go on and on about that. It's so silly. I mean, they should have been allowed to have two WWFs. I don't think anyone was confusing the World Wrestling Federation with the World Wildlife Federation, but it's a law. Laws are laws. You got to follow them. I don't know. I'm not a fucking attorney, but I do know one thing. I know I had a great episode with everybody this week. I really appreciate it, and we can't wait to be back with you next week to revisit this WWE, WWF, who the fuck cares? We're going to talk about all of it and more next week on And Action. We'll see you later, guys. Thanks for being with us.